The stars had been mapped for 50,000 years. Every planet, every species, every technology tree had been studied, catalogued, and understood. The Galactic Confederation ruled over 400 different intelligent species, each with their own strengths and specializations. Commander Zethus floated in his energy form above the control deck of Nexus Station. As a Zalathi, his body was made of pure energy, wrapped in a containment field. His people had mastered energy manipulation beyond what most species could dream. Their weapons could turn stars into plasma, and their shields could stop anything the galaxy could throw at them. Another routine day, Zethus thought as he watched the traffic flowing around the massive space station. Ships from across the galaxy docked and departed in perfect order. Each vessel was instantly recognizable by its technology type. The organic ships of the Corvan Collective looked like giant living creatures. Their hulls breathed and pulsed with life. The Corvan had taken biological engineering to its limits, growing their technology instead of building it. Their ships could heal themselves and adapt to any environment. Near the docking bay, the geometric perfection of mechanic assembly vessels gleamed under the station lights. These synthetic beings had achieved the ultimate in logical design. Their ships were masterpieces of quantum computing and artificial intelligence. Every angle was calculated, every system optimized for maximum efficiency. The ethereal communion ships were harder to see, existing partly in normal space and partly in the psychic realm. These beings had developed technology that responded to thought alone. Their ships moved by mental command and their weapons struck at the mind itself. Finally, the crystalline structures of the hegemon ships sparkled like jewels against the void. The crystalline beings could manipulate matter at the molecular level, creating ships that were single, perfect crystals harder than any known material. Dr. Thrain walked through the scientific quarter of the station, his 4 arms carrying data tablets from his latest research. As the galaxy's leading expert on alien technology, he had spent 800 years studying how different species developed their tools and weapons. The patterns never changed. Energy beings like the Zalathi always followed the energy path. They learned to control plasma, then fusion, then stellar manipulation. Biological species like the Corvan always went down the organic route, starting with simple breeding and ending with controlled evolution. Mechanical species built computers, then AI, then quantum networks. It was as predictable as gravity. Thrain could look at a new species and predict exactly what kind of technology they would develop based on their biology and psychology. He had written the definitive guide on technological development patterns that every galactic university used. The patterns made sense. Each species developed technology that matched their nature. You couldn't expect a crystal being to understand biological systems, or an energy being to work with solid matter effectively. The universe had rules, and intelligent species followed them. Sir, his assistant, a young Zalathi named Kira, approached him with her energy form crackling with excitement. We have an anomaly report from the Outer Rim. Thrain's attention focused immediately. Anomalies were rare. In his 8 centuries of work, he had encountered fewer than a dozen true anomalies, and all of them had turned out to be simple mistakes in data collection. What kind of anomaly? He asked, taking the data tablet. A new species has achieved faster than light travel, but their method doesn't match any known technology tree. The scanners can't identify what type of FTL drive they're using. Thrain looked at the data and frowned. The readings showed a ship approaching the outer edge of Confederation space. But the energy signatures made no sense. It wasn't the controlled energy manipulation of the Zalathi. It wasn't the biological adaptation of the Corvan. It wasn't the quantum calculation of the mechanics, or the psychic resonance of the ethereals. And it definitely wasn't the matter manipulation of the crystallines. Probably just a new variation on one of the established paths, Thrain said, handing back the tablet. Or faulty sensors. Have them run a full diagnostic. But even as he said it, something about the readings bothered him. In 800 years, he had never seen anything quite like this. 3 days later, the first human ship arrived at Nexus Station. Commander Zethus was on duty when the vessel approached the docking bay. He had been briefed about the newcomers, a species calling themselves humans, from a planet they called Earth. According to the preliminary reports, they were standard carbon-based life forms with basic technology. But when Zethus looked at their ship through the station's sensors, he felt confused for the first time in decades. The vessel looked wrong somehow. It had the metal construction typical of mechanical species, but with organic curves that suggested biological influence. Energy patterns flowed through it like a living thing, but in ways that violated several fundamental laws of physics. "Request permission to dock," came a voice over the communication system. The universal translator identified the language as coming from the species that called themselves humans. "Permission granted," Zethus responded automatically. "Welcome to Nexus Station. Please follow standard docking procedures." "Thank you," the voice replied. "This is the Earth vessel Endeavor. We're honored to finally meet our galactic neighbors." As the ship settled into the docking bay, Zethus found himself staring at it through the station's cameras. The more he looked, the more questions arose. The hull seemed to be made of some kind of metal alloy, but sensors detected organic components woven throughout the structure. The engine emissions suggested both energy manipulation and matter conversion, but neither signature was clean enough to identify clearly. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "the humans are requesting a formal first contact meeting with station leadership." "Set it up," Zethus ordered. But his energy form flickered with uncertainty. Something about these humans felt different. In 50,000 years of galactic civilization, every species had fit into the established patterns. Every technology had followed logical development paths. So why did looking at this human ship make him feel like the universe had just become a much stranger place? Down in the scientific quarter, Dr. Thrain received an urgent message requesting his immediate presence at the docking bay. A new species had arrived, and their technology was raising questions that no one seemed able to answer. As he made his way through the station corridors, Thrain felt a mixture of professional excitement and deep unease. Anomalies were supposed to be simple mistakes. They weren't supposed to challenge 800 years of research and 50,000 years of galactic understanding. But as he approached the docking bay and saw the impossible ship waiting there, Thrain realized that everything he thought he knew about technology and the universe was about to be tested in ways he had never imagined. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stepped off the Endeavor with confidence, but her heart was beating fast. After 3 years of travel through space, humanity was finally meeting the galactic community. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her blue diplomatic uniform carried the flag of United Earth across the chest. Behind her came the rest of the human delegation. Dr. Sarah Kim carried cases of scientific equipment and data. Chief Engineer Marcus Chen pushed a cart loaded with examples of human technology. Captain James Wright kept his hand near his sidearm, though it was more habit than expectation of trouble. The docking bay was enormous, bigger than any structure humans had ever built. Beings of different shapes and sizes moved around them. Some looked like walking energy fields. Others appeared to be made of living crystal. A few seemed to shift between solid and gas forms as they moved. "Welcome to Nexus Station," said a tall figure approaching them. The universal translator in Elena's ear identified the speaker as Commander Zethus. His energy form was contained in a roughly humanoid shape, but Elena could see light dancing within his boundaries. "I am the station commander. We are honored to meet representatives of Earth." "The honor is ours," Elena replied, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. Zethus looked at the offered hand with confusion, before awkwardly extending his own energy field to make contact. The touch felt warm and tingly. "Please follow me to the diplomatic quarter," Zethus said. "The Galactic Council is eager to learn about your people and your technology." As they walked through the station corridors, Elena noticed that other beings stopped to stare at the human group. Some whispered to each other in languages the translator couldn't identify. A few pointed at the humans with expressions that might have been curiosity or concern. The diplomatic meeting took place in a large chamber with representatives from the major galactic powers. Dr. Thrain was there, his 4 arms holding different scanning devices as he studied the humans from across the room. Elena presented Earth's formal greetings and expressed humanity's desire for peaceful contact and trade. "Your species has achieved faster than light travel," said the Corvin representative. A being that looked like a walking tree with thousands of small tentacles instead of leaves. This suggests significant technological advancement. Which development path did your people follow? Elena looked confused. Development path? Energy manipulation, biological engineering, quantum mechanics, psychic development, or matter control? Dr. Thrain explained, moving closer with his scanning equipment. All known species develop along one of these 5 technological trees. Your FTL capability suggests you have mastered at least one of them. Well, Elena said slowly, we use a bit of everything, I suppose. Our FTL drive combines quantum mechanics with biological computers and energy manipulation. We call it quantum entanglement, cascade resonance. The room fell silent. Dr. Thrain's scanners stopped beeping as he stared at the human ambassador. That's not possible, said the crystalline representative, her voice ringing like broken glass. Quantum mechanics and biological systems are incompatible. Energy manipulation and matter control cannot be combined at the quantum level. But it works, Chief Engineer Chen said, speaking up for the first time. Would you like me to show you? An hour later, the entire galactic scientific community at Nexus Station crowded into the main research laboratory. Chen had brought several pieces of human technology for demonstration. Dr. Thrain and his team of experts from different species gathered around the examination table. This is a standard human multi-tool, Chen explained, holding up a device about the size of a smartphone. It can cut through most materials, generate electromagnetic fields, analyze chemical compositions, and provide limited medical scanning. Thrain took the device with 2 of his hands while his other arms operated scanning equipment. The readings that appeared on his screens made no sense. The cutting beam uses coherent dark matter, he said slowly. But dark matter cannot be made coherent. It doesn't interact with normal matter in ways that would allow for controlled emission. The electromagnetic generator seems to manipulate space-time itself, added a mechanic assembly scientist, its perfectly logical voice showing strain. This should require massive amounts of energy and equipment the size of a space station. And the medical scanner? Whispered the ethereal representative. It appears to read biological functions through emotional resonance. This should only be possible with psychic technology. But you are not a psychic species. Chen smiled and activated the multi-tool. A beam of dark energy cut cleanly through a piece of crystalline armor that was supposed to be indestructible. The electromagnetic field lifted a 2-ton piece of equipment off the floor without touching it. The medical scanner immediately identified the health status of everyone in the room, including species it had never seen before. How? Dr. Thrain asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Honestly, we're not entirely sure, Chen admitted. We discovered that if you combine quantum processors with biological neural networks and tune them to the emotional resonance of the user, the resulting system can manipulate reality in ways that pure logic says shouldn't work. Emotional resonance? The crystalline scientist's voice cracked like breaking stone. You're saying your technology responds to feelings? In a way, yes, Chen said. Our computers aren't just calculating optimal solutions. They're feeling their way to results that work, even if the math says they shouldn't. Dr. Thrain set down the human multi-tool and picked up his own scanning device. It was a masterpiece of Confederation technology, representing 800 years of advancement and using principles that had been perfected over millennia. Compared to the impossible human tool, it suddenly seemed crude and limited. This cannot be correct, muttered the mechanic assembly representative. Technology must follow logical principles. There are mathematical laws that govern the universe. You cannot simply feel your way to solutions that violate physics. But we can, Dr. Kim said quietly. She had been running her own scans while the others talked. Chief, show them the gravity sling. Chen pulled out another device, this one the size of a briefcase. When he opened it, the interior revealed a complex arrangement of components that seemed to shift and flow, even when nothing was moving them. This creates localized gravity fields, he explained. We use it for construction in space and for emergency ship repairs. Thrain's scanners went wild as Chen activated the device. A sphere of twisted space appeared above the briefcase, creating a gravity well that pulled at everything in the room. But instead of the chaotic destruction that such forces should cause, the effect was perfectly controlled and stable. The energy requirements alone should be enormous, Dr. Thrain said, checking his readings again and again. You're manipulating fundamental forces with a device that masses less than 50 kilograms. The power source can't possibly generate enough energy for this effect. It doesn't, Chen said simply. The device convinces local space-time that gravity should work differently in this area. We're not fighting against physics. We're asking physics to cooperate with us. Asking? The ethereal representative's mental voice echoed with confusion. You speak as if the universe has consciousness. Maybe it does, Chen said with a shrug. Or maybe consciousness and physics interact in ways we don't fully understand yet. All we know is that when our technology incorporates human intuition and emotional responses, it can do things that pure logic says are impossible. Dr. Thrain looked around the laboratory at his fellow scientists. 800 years of research, 50,000 years of galactic technological development, and all of it was being challenged by a species that had achieved FTL travel by asking the universe nicely to bend its rules. We need to study this further, he said finally. Much further. But even as he spoke, Thrain felt a cold fear growing in his chest. If humans could break the fundamental laws that governed all known technology, what did that mean for the rest of galactic civilization? What did that mean for everything they thought they understood about how the universe worked? And most frightening of all, if humans could do the impossible with technology, what else might they be capable of? The research laboratory on Nexus Station had become the most important place in the galaxy. For 3 weeks, scientists from every major species had been working around the clock to understand human technology. The results were becoming more impossible by the day. Dr. Thrain stood before a massive holographic display showing the internal structure of human FTL drives. His 4 arms moved constantly, manipulating data and running calculations that continued to produce impossible results. The quantum entanglement field should collapse immediately, he muttered, for the 100th time. The biological processors should be destroyed by quantum interference. The dark matter containment should fail catastrophically. But instead, it all works together perfectly. Across the room, Chief Engineer Marcus Chen sat at a workbench, surrounded by parts from different galactic technologies. He had asked for samples from each of the 5 major technology trees, claiming he wanted to show the alien scientists something important. Mr. Chen called Dr. Vex, the crystalline hegemon's lead scientist. Her crystal body reflected the laboratory lights in complex patterns. You have been working with our components for 6 hours. What exactly are you attempting to build? Chen looked up from his work, a piece of Zelothi energy conduit in one hand and a Corven bioprocessor in the other. I'm going to build you a gravity sling using parts from all 5 of your technology types. The laboratory fell silent. Then Dr. Thrain spoke, his voice carefully controlled. Mr. Chen, that is impossible. Those technologies are fundamentally incompatible. Crystalline matter manipulation interferes with Zelothi energy fields. Corven bioprocessors cannot interface with mechanic quantum systems. Ethereal psychic components will be disrupted by any physical technology. According to your physics, yes, Chen agreed cheerfully. But physics isn't just about following rules. Sometimes it's about finding harmony between things that seem different. He picked up the crystalline matter manipulator, a device that looked like a perfect sphere of clear diamond. With careful movements, he began connecting it to the Zelothi energy conduit. Sparks flew immediately. Stop! Dr. Vex shouted. You will cause a cascade failure. But Chen didn't stop. Instead, he closed his eyes and seemed to feel his way through the connection. His hands moved by instinct rather than careful calculation. Slowly, impossibly, the sparks settled into a steady glow. The key is not forcing the components to work together, he explained, his eyes still closed. You have to listen to what they want to do, then guide them gently toward cooperation. Next, he added the Corven bioprocessor. The organic component should have been destroyed immediately by the energy flowing through the crystal. Instead, it seemed to pulse in rhythm with the energy flow, as if it were enjoying the experience. Dr. Kira, the young Zalathi scientist who had been watching Chen work, moved closer. Her energy form flickered with curiosity. "Mr. Chen, you speak as if the components have desires and feelings, don't they?" Chen asked, opening his eyes and smiling at her. "Everything in the universe responds to the environment around it. Matter resonates with energy. Energy influences biological processes. Biology affects quantum states. Your scientists study each piece separately, but we learn to feel the connections." He added the mechanic assembly quantum processor next. The logical, mathematical component should have been completely incompatible with the biological system, but under Chen's guidance, the quantum calculations began incorporating biological patterns, creating something entirely new. "This is impossible," whispered Dr. Zur, the mechanic scientist. "Quantum processing requires pure logical states. Biological systems introduce chaos and unpredictability." "Exactly," Chen said happily. "And that chaos makes the quantum system more creative. Instead of just calculating the most logical solution, it can find solutions that logic never considered." Finally, he reached for the ethereal psychic resonator. The other scientists stepped back instinctively. Psychic technology was notoriously unstable when combined with any physical components. "Mr. Chen," Dr. Thrain said urgently, "that component will disrupt everything you have built. The psychic field will cause feedback that could destroy half this laboratory." But Chen was already making the connection. The psychic resonator touched the hybrid device he had created, and instead of the expected explosion, a soft harmony filled the air. The device began to glow with a light that seemed to shift through every color imaginable. "How?" Dr. Vex asked, her crystal voice barely audible. "The psychic component isn't controlling the device," Chen explained. "It's helping all the other components communicate with each other. Each technology speaks a different language, but emotion and intuition are universal translators." He activated the completed device. Space around it began to bend and twist, creating the characteristic gravity well of a functioning gravity sling. But this wasn't like any gravity manipulation the aliens had ever seen. The field was smoother, more responsive, and impossibly stable. "The gravity effect is 60% stronger than theoretical maximum," Dr. Thrain said, reading his instruments with shaking hands. "And it's using only 1/3 the energy input that our calculations said would be required." "That's because you're thinking about fighting against physics," Chen said. "We learned to dance with it instead." Dr. Kira's energy form pulsed with excitement. "Mr. Chen, could you teach us this approach? Could other species learn to use human methods?" Chen considered this carefully. "I don't know. The way we think about technology comes from how our brains evolved. We're pattern recognition specialists. We see connections that pure logic might miss. We make intuitive leaps that turn out to be correct even when we can't explain why." He gestured to the hybrid device, still humming with impossible harmony. "Your species are much better than us at specific things. Zalathi understand energy far better than we do. Crystallines can manipulate matter in ways we can barely imagine, but we might be the first species to develop technology by feeling our way through problems instead of calculating our way through them." Dr. Zur's mechanical voice carried a note of something that might have been wonder. "You are suggesting that human technology advancement comes not from superior intelligence, but from superior intuition?" "Not superior," Chen corrected. "Just different. You build technology that matches your nature. Energy beings master energy. Logical beings master logic. But humans are emotional beings. We master the connections between things." Dr. Thrain stared at the impossible device Chen had created. "This changes everything we know about technological development. If components from different technology trees can be combined through emotional resonance and intuitive engineering, then maybe the 5 paths aren't really separate at all." Dr. Kira finished. "Maybe they're all different aspects of the same underlying reality." Chen nodded. "That's what we discovered when we developed FTL travel. We couldn't make it work by following any single path. But when we combined all the approaches and let our intuition guide the process, suddenly the universe opened up for us. Across the laboratory, scientists from different species looked at each other with new understanding. For 50,000 years, they had developed technology by following their nature and staying within their specialty. They had seen the universe as a collection of separate systems governed by rigid laws, but the humans had shown them something else. They had proven that technology could be art, that science could include emotion, and that the most impossible things might become possible when approached with intuition instead of pure logic. As word of Chen's demonstration spread throughout Nexus Station, a ripple of excitement and fear began to spread across the galaxy. The old certainties were crumbling. The established order was being challenged, and somewhere in the depths of space, military fleets began to move, as galactic powers realized that everything they thought they knew about technology, warfare, and the nature of reality itself was about to change forever. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called after reports of the human technology demonstration reached every major government in the galaxy. For the first time in 3,000 years, representatives from all 5 major power blocks gathered on Nexus Station within the same week. Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat in the observation area, watching as beings of incredible power and intelligence argued about the fate of her species. The translator in her ear struggled to keep up with the rapid exchanges of alien languages. "The humans represent an existential threat to galactic stability," declared Admiral Korthak of the Zelathi Imperium. His energy form blazed brighter than usual, indicating extreme agitation. "Their technology makes our weapons obsolete. Our shields, our ships, our entire military doctrine becomes meaningless if they can simply ignore the laws of physics." "The Admiral speaks the truth," agreed Queen Mother Vesith of the Corven Collective. Her tree-like form rustled with agreement from the thousands of small organisms that made up her consciousness. "Our bioships have evolved for 50,000 years to achieve perfect adaptation. But human technology suggests that evolution itself can be bypassed through their emotional engineering." High Calculator Prex of the Mechanic Assembly spoke next, its voice carrying the weight of pure logic. "Analysis indicates a 97.3% probability that human technological methods will destabilize all existing economic and military structures within one galactic cycle. Recommendation: immediate containment or elimination of the human threat." Elena felt her blood turn cold. She had known there might be fear about human technology, but talk of elimination was far worse than she had expected. Dr. Thrain stood up in the scientific advisory section. His forearms trembled as he activated a holographic display. "Honored representatives, I must present my complete findings about human technology." The display showed complex diagrams of human devices compared to galactic equivalents. "Human faster-than-light drives achieve speeds 300% greater than our best technology, while using 60% less energy. Their weapons can penetrate any known defense. Their computers outperform our quantum networks while consuming less power than a simple calculator." Murmurs of alarm spread through the council chamber. "But most concerning of all," Dr. Thrain continued, "human technology appears to be improving at an exponential rate. In the 3 weeks since first contact, they have demonstrated 17 completely new applications of their methods. At this rate of advancement, within 1 year they will possess capabilities that we cannot even imagine." Lord Crystallis, the hegemon representative, spoke with a voice like breaking glass. "The humans claim their methods can be taught to other species. If this is true, it could destroy the balance of power that has kept peace in the galaxy for millennia. Worse," added Mindspeaker Aethon of the Ethereal Communion, "if their emotional technology spreads, it could contaminate our pure logical development. Our children might abandon proven methods to chase after human intuitive madness." Elena stood up, despite protocol that said she should remain silent during the council debate. "May I speak?" The chamber fell silent. Admiral Korthak's energy form flared. "The human representative has no voice in this body. Sit down. Let her speak," said Dr. Thrain. "If we are discussing the fate of her species, she deserves to be heard." Elena felt the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon her. The next few minutes would determine whether humanity found a place in the galaxy or faced extinction. Honored representatives, she began, I understand your concerns. Human technology must seem frightening because it challenges everything you have known for thousands of years. But we did not develop our methods to threaten you. We developed them because we had to. She activated her own data display, showing images of Earth and human history. We are not an inherently advanced species. When we first reached into space, our technology was primitive compared to yours. Our computers were barely able to calculate simple orbital mechanics. Our energy generation was inefficient and dirty. The images showed humanity's struggles with climate change, resource depletion, and technological limitations. We were facing extinction on our own planet. Our logical, mathematical approach to technology wasn't advancing fast enough to save us, so we tried something different. We began approaching our problems with creativity and intuition instead of pure calculation. And this emotional approach saved your species? Asked Queen Mother Vesith. It did more than that, Elena said. It taught us that the universe is not just a collection of mechanical laws to be obeyed. It's a living system that responds to consciousness and intention. When we stopped trying to force technology to work and started asking it to cooperate with us, everything changed. Preposterous, High Calculator Prex declared. The universe does not have consciousness. It does not respond to intention. These are illogical concepts. But Dr. Kira, the young Zalathi scientist, spoke up from the research section. Actually, our studies suggest that consciousness does interact with quantum systems in ways we don't fully understand. Human technology might be accessing aspects of reality that our purely logical approach has missed. Admiral Korthak's energy form pulsed with anger. Are you suggesting that 50,000 years of galactic scientific advancement has been wrong? That our entire understanding of physics is flawed? Not wrong, Elena said quickly. Incomplete. You have mastered the logical aspects of reality, but you have ignored the creative aspects. Humanity offers not a replacement for your methods, but a complement to them. And what assurance do we have, Lord Crystallis asked, that humanity will not use their impossible technology to conquer the galaxy? What prevents you from becoming the dominant species once your capabilities exceed ours? Elena looked around the chamber at beings whose civilizations had existed for millions of years, longer than humanity. Because conquest was never our goal. We reached for the stars not to dominate, but to explore. We developed advanced technology not to rule others, but to solve problems that logic alone couldn't handle. Pretty words, Admiral Korthak said coldly. But intentions can change. Power corrupts all species eventually. Then work with us, Elena said urgently. Don't try to contain or destroy us. Help us develop our technology responsibly. Teach us the wisdom that comes from millions of years of civilization. In return, let us share our intuitive methods with you. Absolutely not, High Calculator Prex declared. Allowing human methods to spread would contaminate pure logical systems. It would introduce chaos into ordered development. But Dr. Thrain spoke again, his voice thoughtful. Actually, the preliminary results suggest that hybrid approaches might be superior to pure logical methods. The device that Engineer Chen built, using components from all 5 technology trees, outperformed equivalent devices from any single tradition. Because he violated fundamental principles, Admiral Korthak raged. He created an abomination that should not exist. An abomination that works better than anything we have built. Dr. Kira pointed out quietly. The council chamber erupted into argument. Some representatives demanded immediate military action against humanity. Others called for quarantine and careful study. A few suggested limited cooperation under strict oversight. Through it all, Elena watched the debate with growing dread. She could see fear winning over curiosity. Politics overriding science. The same logical thinking that had built galactic civilization was now becoming its limitation. As the arguments continued into the night, reports began arriving from across the galaxy. Military fleets were mobilizing. Trade routes were being rerouted away from human space. Some species were demanding that their colonies prepare for possible conflict. Word of the council debates had leaked to the galactic media. Panic was beginning to spread as ordinary citizens learned that the fundamental laws of physics might not be as fundamental as they had believed. On the outer rim, several smaller species announced that they were cutting all contact with both humanity and the major powers until the crisis was resolved. Pirates and raiders began attacking ships with advanced technology, trying to capture human devices for black market sale. Dr. Thrain found Elena in the observation lounge after the session ended. She was staring out at the stars, wondering if humanity's first contact with galactic civilization might also be its last. "There is still hope," he told her. "Not everyone fears your people. Some of us see the potential for growth and discovery." "But fear is louder than hope," Elena replied sadly. "And fear makes people do terrible things. Then we must make hope louder," Dr. Thrain said. "We must show them that the universe just became a more wonderful place, not a more dangerous one." But even as he spoke, both of them could see the lights of warships gathering around Nexus Station. The galaxy was preparing for the possibility that humanity's impossible technology might need to be stopped before it changed everything beyond recognition. The crisis reached its breaking point when Admiral Korthak's fleet surrounded the human ship Endeavour. His energy-based weapons powered up, ready to destroy the vessel and its crew. Across the galaxy, other fleets moved into position near human colonies, waiting for the order that would end humanity's brief time among the stars. But in the research laboratory on Nexus Station, something unexpected was happening. Dr. Kira had been working for days with a small team of young scientists from different species, studying the hybrid device that Marcus Chen had built. Unlike their elders, these younger minds approached the impossible technology with curiosity rather than fear. "Look at these readings," Kira said to her team. Her energy form flickered with excitement as she shared data with Dr. Yila, a young Corvan biologist, and Unit 4-2, a recently activated mechanic assembly researcher. "The human approach doesn't break the laws of physics. It reveals new laws that we never knew existed." Yila's organic tendrils swayed as she processed the information through her biological neural network. The emotional resonance component acts as a bridge between different types of physical interactions. "It's like discovering a new fundamental force." "Affirmative," Unit 4-2 added, its young AI mind more flexible than the rigid logic of older mechanic systems. "Human methods access quantum probability states through conscious intention. This suggests that awareness itself is a physical force that affects reality." Their breakthrough came when they realized they could combine their different approaches with human intuitive guidance. Working together, they began developing what they called integrated technology. Systems that used logic from the mechanics, energy mastery from the Zelathi, biological adaptation from the Corvan, and emotional resonance from humans. Dr. Thrain watched their work with amazement and growing hope. These young minds were proving that cooperation was possible, that different approaches to technology could strengthen each other instead of conflicting. "We need to show this to the council," he told Elena, who had been observing the research with Chief Engineer Chen. "If they can see that integration works, maybe they will reconsider their fear of human methods." But Elena shook her head sadly. "Fear doesn't listen to evidence. And Admiral Korthak has already made up his mind." As if summoned by their conversation, an emergency alert sounded throughout Nexus Station. Admiral Korthak's voice echoed from the communication system. "By order of the Galactic Defense Council, all human vessels must surrender immediately for technological inspection and crew detention. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." Elena felt her heart sink. After everything they had tried to explain, after all the demonstrations of peaceful cooperation, the galaxy's fear had won. But then Dr. Kira did something that changed everything. She opened a communication channel to Admiral Korthak's flagship. "Admiral, this is Dr. Kira of Nexus Station Research Division. I request permission to demonstrate something that may change your perspective on the human situation." "Dr. Kira, you will cease communication immediately," Korthak replied angrily. "This is a military operation. With respect, Admiral, I believe you are about to make a terrible mistake based on incomplete information. Give me 5 minutes to show you what we have learned." There was a long pause. Then, reluctantly, Korthak agreed. What followed was the most important scientific demonstration in galactic history. Using the station's main holographic display, Dr. Kira showed how the young research team had combined technologies from different species, using human emotional resonance techniques. "We built a new type of power generator," she explained. "It uses Zalathi energy manipulation, guided by human intuition, Corvin biological adaptation systems, mechanic assembly, quantum processing, and crystalline matter manipulation. The result produces 3 times more energy than the sum of its separate components." The hologram showed the elegant device they had created. Unlike traditional galactic technology with its rigid, logical design, this new machine seemed to flow and pulse with life. It looked more like a work of art than a piece of equipment. "The key insight," Dr. Yila added, "is that human emotional resonance doesn't replace logical analysis. It enhances it. When we combine human intuition with our various specializations, we achieve results that none of us could accomplish alone." Unit 4-2 presented the mathematical analysis. Integrated technology shows efficiency improvements ranging from 200% to 400% across all tested applications. More significantly, it appears to access previously unknown physical phenomena that pure logical approaches cannot detect. Admiral Korthak's energy form flickered with uncertainty. "You are suggesting that human methods actually improve our technology rather than threatening it?" "Exactly, Dr. Thrain said, stepping forward. "Humans are not superior to us. They are different from us. And that difference is valuable because it reveals aspects of reality that our logical minds have missed." Marcus Chen activated his communicator from the laboratory. "Admiral, with respect, you're thinking about this the wrong way. We're not trying to replace your technology. We want to collaborate with it. Your energy manipulation abilities are far beyond anything humans could achieve alone. But when we combine your mastery with our intuitive approach, we both become more than we were separately." "Demonstrate," Korthak demanded. Chen looked at Dr. Kira. "Would you be willing to try something new?" Her energy form pulsed with agreement. Together, they approached a standard Zalathi weapon that had been brought to the laboratory for analysis. Chen placed his hands on the device, while Kira surrounded it with her energy field. "Feel the energy patterns," Chen said softly. "Don't try to control them through calculation. Feel how they want to flow. Trop. Trop. Chen 7. Trop. Trop. Chen 7. For a moment, nothing happened. Then something extraordinary occurred. The weapon began to glow with a light that was brighter and more stable than any Zalathi energy weapon had ever achieved. But more than that, it felt different. Instead of the harsh, destructive energy typical of weapons, this device radiated a sense of protective power. "Impossible," Admiral Korthak whispered. "That weapon is now operating at 400% of maximum design efficiency, and the energy signature. It's completely stable. There's no risk of overload or cascade failure, because it's not fighting against its nature anymore," Chen explained. "It's working in harmony with the fundamental forces of the universe." Dr. Kira's energy form was brilliant with excitement. "Admiral, imagine what we could achieve if all our species worked together like this. Not human technology replacing ours, but human intuition guiding our specializations to heights we never imagined possible." The breakthrough continued as other young scientists began experimenting with integrated approaches. A crystalline researcher worked with Chen to create matter manipulation devices that responded to conscious intention. An ethereal student discovered that human emotional resonance could enhance psychic technology without the usual instability problems. Within hours, the laboratory had become a collaborative workspace where beings from different species worked together in ways that had never been attempted before. The results were staggering. Every device they created using integrated methods outperformed traditional technology by massive margins. Admiral Korthak watched the demonstrations in growing amazement. Slowly, his fleet powered down their weapons and moved to defensive positions around Nexus Station, rather than attack formations. "Dr. Thrain," he said finally, "I need to speak with the Council immediately." The emergency session that followed lasted 3 days. But instead of debates about containing the human threat, the discussion focused on how to integrate human methods into galactic civilization safely and effectively. Elena found herself not defending humanity's right to exist, but helping to plan a new era of collaborative development. The young scientists who had proven integration was possible were appointed to lead research stations throughout the galaxy. 5 years later, Elena stood in the command center of the Synthesis, the first starship built using fully integrated technology. The vessel was a marvel that defied every previous understanding of what was possible. Its biomechanical hull could adapt to any environment. Its quantum emotional computers could solve problems that had puzzled galactic civilization for millennia. Its drives could access dimensions that pure logic had never detected. But more importantly, the ship was crewed by beings from a dozen different species working together in harmony. Human intuition guided Zelathi energy mastery. Corvin biological adaptation enhanced mechanic logical systems. Crystalline matter manipulation responded to ethereal psychic direction. Long-range sensors are detecting the edge of the galaxy, reported Commander Zethus, who now served as the ship's navigation officer. His energy form had learned to incorporate human emotional cues, making his calculations more creative and effective. Incredible, Dr. Thrain said from the science station. We're detecting cosmic structures that our old sensors couldn't perceive. There are entire galaxies connected by quantum emotional networks that logic-based technology simply cannot detect. Elena smiled as she looked out at the universe that had suddenly become infinitely larger and more wonderful. The galaxy had feared that human technology would destroy their way of life. Instead, it had shown them that their way of life was just the beginning. Set course for the unknown, she ordered. Let's see what other impossible things are waiting for us out there. As the Synthesis leaped into dimensions that couldn't be calculated but could be felt, Elena reflected on how fear had almost prevented this moment from happening. The galaxy had trembled when humanity revealed technology that no species could understand. But in the end, understanding had been less important than acceptance, cooperation, and the willingness to discover that the universe was far stranger and more beautiful than anyone had ever imagined. Behind them, hundreds of other integrated ships followed, carrying crews of mixed species toward discoveries that pure logic would never have made possible. The age of separated technological development was over. The age of collaborative exploration had begun, and somewhere in the vast reaches of space, other galaxies waited to learn that consciousness and emotion were not obstacles to understanding the universe, but gateways to realities that had always existed, just beyond the reach of logic alone.